Hey guys, I'm Derek and I'm currently building a 1981 Yamaha Virago, and in today's video I'm going to show you the design that I came up with for the headlight and the front windscreen. Let's hop over into SOLIDWORKS and let me show you the design. Alright guys, so I'm going to take you through the CAD data first, and then we will hop over into the garage and get it assembled on the bike along with the front fender that I got. But let's start off in the CAD and let me take you through the design. So I'm using a Koso Thunderbolt headlight, or at least I believe it's called the Thunderbolt. I'll put a link in the description of the actual headlight that I'm using. But a nice thing that Koso provides you with is mounting locations for everything. So there is a few mounts on the back of the headlight and on the side, and they do provide you with those dimensions. They don't provide you with the dimensions, say, from this mounting surface to this mounting surface, but I don't have any bracketry that spans from here to there, so it won't necessarily really be an issue. So I really needed to create bracketry to hold this in place, and a couple things is I didn't want any brackets to mount to the forks. Reason being is that when you have to remove the forks for whatever reason, now you've got to leave the headlight just dangling, or you got to disconnect everything. It's kind of a pain. Or the brackets that you see on the market today, you actually have to like disassemble your triple trees or remove the fork slightly to put them on. I didn't want to do that. So if you haven't seen a previous video, I am using a 2008 R6 front suspension. So on the bottom of the triple tree, there was actually a few mounting locations. So I was able to measure those with some calipers and get a good idea of where they are. Granted, I just grabbed this model from GrabCAD, so I was able to find some decent R6 models that I think are the right year, but they're pretty close, and at least it gives me an idea. As long as you can measure some mounting locations and get a general idea for spacing of forks, it's really helpful. But so I was able to mount directly to the bottom of the triple tree, and then I thought that I could just raise up my bar mount. So I have Cognito Moto bar risers, and I'm going to be using like a Renthal or Pro taper bar, basically a dirt bike style bar. And there's actually a ton of material on the bottom of this, so whatever space I'm taking up here I can always remove from the Cognito Moto risers. But for now I'm going to leave it as is, and you can always remove material later, but it's a lot harder to add it back on. So I'm going to hide the fairing and the fairing mount, windscreen and windscreen mount, to show you what I have here. So because I don't necessarily know where I need everything to live, and I don't know the angle of the headlight, I wanted to create mounts that would allow me to rotate the headlight once the bike's all done. So I wanted to have a pivot at least in one of the mount locations, and then have some sort of adjustability on the other side. So on the bottom I made the pivoting mount because this is the stronger of the two joints, at least currently for my prototype. And then the top I included a Heim joint. And the nice thing with the Heim joint is, and with the hinge at the bottom, is that once the bike's all assembled, I can take measurements of the light beam and just lengthen that to get the desired headlight angle. And then once I get the desired headlight angle, I can go in and create a hard mount that would be a little bit more rigid than this. Currently these parts, and when we see them in the garage, they're just 3D printed. And these actually could probably be end-use 3D printed parts, just because they're not seeing a ton of stress. The only thing that would maybe cause an issue is like leaning up on it or possible rocks hitting it, just that general force. But these could probably just be end-use 3D printed parts. And I'm still determining whether I want to do that or make them a little bit more simple and go with like machine components. So once I had an idea of where the headlight was going to live, I wanted to create the windscreen for it. And I got a little help from my friend Jesse Sprague, and he kind of gave me the idea of creating a hexagon shape here. So I created a windscreen that went from the circular size of the headlight and transition to that hexagon shape, kind of where it would line up parallel to the forks. So if we look at it from a side view, you can see the back of this surface matches or is parallel to the forks, and that was what I was kind of going for. So then I had to create some mounts for it. So I created this mount on the back side and just created a little bit of material. Now I knew this was going to be 3D printed, so it was easy to just kind of add material and make whatever you want. I even had to split it here into 2 sections, only because it's too large to fit on a normal 3D printer. So I'm not quite sure exactly what or how this is going to be when it's done, whether it'll be like a carbon fiber piece or whether it's just 3D printed and skimmed in carbon fiber. I'm not entirely sure yet, but the goal here was just get something on the bike, see if it looks good, and then I can go from there. So I think now it's time to hop over into the garage and let's get going. Taking a look at the underside of the triple trees, you can see those 2 bolts that I was referencing earlier. Now taking a look at the 3D printed components, you can see this actually looks really nice on the headlight, and you can see the brackets in the back. So at the very bottom, we've got the pivoting joint that will attach to the bottom of the triple tree, that heim joint on top, and then you can see where it was split there into 2 pieces just so that it could be printed. So to install it, we just got to pop that shoulder bolt into that top mounting location through that heim joint, and then we'll fish the wire through and mount the bottom. So just got a couple bolts to mount to the bottom of that triple tree, and then you have a pretty rigid mount. And it looks really nice on there. And that was the big concern, was I wasn't sure exactly how the style was going to look on the bike, and that's why I wanted to 3D print these components and get on there, just so that you could get a rough idea of, okay, do I like this look or do I not? And then I still had to get my front fender on, and originally I was thinking about doing something more custom, but I wanted to just stay with something that was just easy and just go with a normal OEM R6 front fender as well. So I ordered one off of eBay and got some OEM hardware because I was missing some of the bushings and specific hardware that was used. And the nice thing is this bolts directly up to the front mounts that came with the bike, so it just makes it really easy, you know. And on these custom builds, sometimes it's easy to just stick with OEM components that you know are going to work and look good and just fit the first time, you know. So it might be $50 in all of the front fender components, but I'd probably have 3 times that into making something custom. So this gives you a look of what the front of the bike looks like now. So the 3D printed windscreen, the Koso headlight, and the R6 front fender. I think this turned out really cool. Please let me know what you think of this and whether you'd like to see more of this content, and I hope to see you in the next video.